The Modern Family. The Modern Family. Let us bridge the gap between generations. Let us shape up the modern family.
I remember when I first met you, I felt that God answered my call. There was that one place I always thought about, and I just wanted to be there with you. The place that no eye has ever seen. The place that no...
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. In the name of Allah, most gracious, most merciful, all praise be to Allah, the Lord of the heavens and the earth. And peace and blessings be upon our beloved Messenger Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. O Allah, grant us knowledge, wisdom and sincerity. Dear listeners, welcome to your show, The Modern Family. I'm your host, Hatim Al-Abdussalam. And joining me is Wael Harasi, who will be with us in a few minutes. Today we have a very, very interesting topic. They say our homes are the last resort where we seek comfort and tranquility after a long day at work. Our beloved ones spend most of their time at home, and we do trust that our homes are the safest place for them to be. Time and statistics have proven that our homes can be a deadly place if we are not careful enough. Let us all be responsible parents and turn our homes into a safe environment for our loved ones. Joining me today is our distinguished guest, Mr. Musallam bin Rashid Al-Khaifi, who is a HSE manager and a safety expert. Assalamu alaikum, Salam.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi ta'ala.
How are you today?
Alhamdulillah, doing fine, alhamdulillah.
Thank you very much for joining us for this important session about safety at home. I'm sure we will all benefit from today, as this is so important to us, because we're talking about our loved ones at home.
Sure.
If we can start, Musallam, can you tell us how safe are our homes in today's world?
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Wassalatu wassalamu ala Rasulillah. First of all, thank you for hosting me in this your beautiful programs. Really appreciate it. Talking about home safety, it's a very big subject to cover it in few sittings and few programs. However, our home safety starts from the designing of the house itself. When people building the house, those who are intending to have family in the house, they need to really look at what they're building. There are some houses, we can call them that they are safe houses, and there are some houses we are unsafe because of many staircases, a lot of unsafe designs like balconies and high-rise areas and lower areas, ground areas. Many designs that sometimes do make the house look more beautiful but make it unsafe. There is always conflict between safety and beauty of the house. So to make the home safe, first of all, it started from the design phase. And then we go into what goes into the house. Everyone needs to think what he's putting into the house, whether it is safe or not. And again, there is a conflict between price and safer material that goes into the house.
Yes.
You want cheap things, you're going to get cheap things, nice things that is going to blow in your face one day. You want to pay more price, then they're going to be, I don't say that it's always like that, but most of the time they have price things, they are more safer.
Yes.
And
more reliable.
Absolutely. And you need to look at the, of course, of user manual. If you ask everybody, how many times do you buy a tool, equipment or anything, and you read the user manual, which is the safety book for that tool? And the answer will be, I can tell you, if 10% do read those manuals before they operate the unit or the tool or the machine, then we will be very lucky. But the fact is, the painful fact is that people do not read those manuals.
Most of the time they assume that we know how to operate.
We know how. We did buy something like it before. We used something like it before. So why should I go to the same first again? So they just go on and put the thing on before reading anything. And then you go, as you said, we can start from the beginning when you get into your car park. Then you go into your doors, to your sitting rooms, your dining rooms, your kitchen, your bedrooms. Everywhere there is a different hazards there. And the most important thing for people is to, first of all, to identify those hazards and who's going to be harmed. Sometimes a strong young man like yourself perhaps will be more safer on these kind of things. But you have elderly who needs help. You have children, toddlers, who are more vulnerable for these kind of things. So definitely we need to look into what hazards we have at our homes, and then start now finding some solutions, controls, to avoid those hazards. Because most of the time we are putting things knowing that sometimes they might cause harm to someone, but hoping that they won't cause harm. You know, we don't think always what if that thing is going to...
So we're playing the risk game.
Exactly. We're playing the risk game. We are always praying that things won't go wrong.
Yeah.
While in fact, we should always look at the things that might harm someone and change them to, better things, or remove them if we don't use them. You'll be surprised sometimes we have things at home that have been kept not used while they are hazardous, and we never thought of taking them out. Yeah. So definitely there is so many things into it. If you want us to start from now, I can start and tell you what type of...
Yes, I think we can start maybe by identifying from the very beginning. Are our homes friendly to our children? Are they suitable for our children? Okay,
you've touched on a very important point. The fact is that most of the accident happens in our homes and domestics. The injured people or persons or whatever, are toddlers and the children. They are more vulnerable. They are exposed more than anybody else. Of course, after them are the elderly who are living in our houses. Children mainly between 0 to 15 years old, but most of them, the ones who get more painful injuries and sometimes die, from 0 to 4 years old. Those who are just been born, trying to crawl and then trying to balance in walking, they're the ones who get the most of the injuries and death. There are millions of accidents happens at homes every year. Yeah. Of course, some of them we don't even know about them because the parents are good in first aid, so they will just treat the child or the toddler and keep them at home. And some of them we know because they do go to the accident and emergency in hospitals, and then they, we have these.
But Musallam, you realize that most of the parents, they don't take these subjects very important because it didn't happen to them, or it didn't happen to any of their loved ones. But the moment it happens to them, and then they take the precautions and they find out more. They do research, and they go and do different means to prevent from it happening again. But why should you wait until it happens? Why don't you take the precautions from the beginning?
Exactly. The knowledge is the most important thing for anything. Yeah. And as you know, Hatim, we don't like to read. Yeah, let's face it, we don't like to read.
That's a fact.
I was coming one day in the flight to Oman, and when I was approaching the airport, when they switch off the lights, they say if you want to continue to read, switch your reading light.
Yes.
And you'll be surprised, it was completely dark.
Pitch dark.
No one at all switched anything. So we don't like to read. And exactly as you said, we are supposed to learn from the mistakes of others. The clever ones do learn from the mistakes of others. But the ones who are not clever, they become the learning for others to benefit from. So what we say is, don't wait until the accident happens. Yeah. Yes. Please do read about anything you put at home, especially the electrical substances, poisonous things like pesticides, and a lot of other things you put at home. Please read before you take them at home, first of all. And when you take them at home, store them correctly. Like medicines. How many times do we put medicines in?
And label them. Huh?
Exactly.
Label them. Because I have a story, Sheikh Musallam. I was in a house where there was a can that was left outside the house for a very long time. Several weeks and probably a couple of months. My son was playing in the same area. And I personally did not notice that can. My son, he was at the time 2 years old. He went and played with it, and suddenly I saw him screaming like never before, and shouting, and I couldn't see any blood on him, but what I saw all his clothes totally burnt.
Subhanallah.
And it was acid, and he was protected by his clothing. He had several layers of clothes, but believe me, all the layers completely burnt. And it was a can that was left outside, totally unlabeled, and nobody even knew what that was.
Exactly. That's what we say sometimes. Things that we do think, or we think that they are not hazardous to us, like small bottles of water, when we use them. Yeah, there is a habit of many people at houses that they use those bottles after they've been used and put some different funny things into them, detergents and other things. They don't want to use a big bottle of the
they
main
use the water
unit.
bottles.
Exactly. So they put it in smaller ones. Now, children don't know that these bottles are for detergent or for chemicals. They will think there's a juice.
And the thing is, these detergents are colorful.
Exactly.
And they're
Exactly.
colorful.
Even worse, it could be colorless, and they may think it's water.
Exactly. So we sometimes think things like these are not hazardous, but believe me, many accidents around the globe happens because of using these bottles to put different things. Yeah. So we have to be careful, as I said, as Dr. Weil said, it's labeling them. If you are going to use those bottles, first of all, make sure that they are far from any reach of any children, and you label them. Yeah. And sometimes you check even the food we use. How many people buy, for instance, a fresh milk, which says the expiry date is after 5 days? But they never read below there, which says that's only if you don't open it and it is in the fridge. But after you open it, you consume it in only 1 day, 24 hours. How many people do that? You'll find people buying those fresh milk, they open them, and they use them for the rest of the day of expiry, or maybe beyond. And then they get food poisoning, and they start shouting, the milk was not fine. It's not milk, it's us. We don't read those things. Yeah.
Even cosmetics and toothpaste, or liquid soaps. There is a sign, like an open lid, and beneath that there is a number. It could be 12, 24, 18, or 36. These are the number of months that once you open it, then you can only consume it within that amount of time. Exactly. How many times we have people who are trying different toothpastes, and they don't like this, but they will leave it there
for a year, and still they use it after 1 year. Exactly.
Some would have an argument. They would say that homes in the past they didn't have all these safety regulations, or this fuss about safety and awareness, and nothing happened much. But nowadays we're so obsessed with safety and how to do things in the best way, and more accidents are happening. And
we never needed any expert to tell us anything about
exactly. Thank you very much for bringing that up. It's really a nice point. Now let me tell you something. What tells you that in the past there was no accidents? There was no WhatsApp in the past. Yeah. Nowadays I remember there was an accident which I was involved in, and before I was still doing something about that accident, and I got a message from WhatsApp talking about the same incident that I'm in and has not finished. So you see how quick the news are going nowadays. So what I say is that, first of all, the talk that there were no accident in the past, that's not true. Because the only time you will find about accident when somebody dies. Everybody in the village will be called to go to bury him. But otherwise, simpler accidents, قَدَّرَ اللَّهُ مَا شَاءَ فَعَلَ, it's a destiny. They'll just put some egg and flour and that's it. Nobody
will know. Tough.
Exactly. Secondly, if you look at the past, the houses were safer than now. There were no electricities, most of the houses. There was no bath that you can go into it and choke
and
drown. Yeah. The kitchens were outside using simpler things. There's no gas that can explode in your face. Yeah. And most of the children those days, most of us were playing outside.
Busy outside.
Yeah. Most of the time we are outside. We are not in the houses. But look at now. What is the games of the children? PlayStations, iPods, iPads. That keeps all the children always inside. Those days, I remember, the most injuries are coming from the construction site, where there is some nails going into your foot, there's some scratches because somebody punched you. Yeah, kids play with each other, punch each other, playing football. But nowadays, most of the injuries are inside the house, because most of the time our children are not going outside the house; they're playing inside. And that's why making those days. And again, as I said, we don't have statistics of those days.
Yeah.
News were not spread like now.
What do you think, Hatem, if we go through a journey with Sheikh Musallam into our own houses, why don't we go step by step, identify the hazards, and then see what we can cover?
That's a good idea. Let's start from the very, very beginning, the compound area.
Okay, let's go even before that. Let's take you now in an image like a cinema. You are coming now with your car from the office, tired. Yeah. When you open that gate of your door, whether it's automatic or it's a manual, if it is manual, it's less hazardous than automatic, because do you really know that your child is, somewhere between that door and your wall? Do you have anything that will stop that gate from injuring your child or stopping it? So that is one step. Secondly, we always encourage people to reverse parking. And when they ask why do we do that, it's because when you approach your car park, you normally have the full vision of your car park. You know whether somebody's there, something is there. But if you go and you put your car, you don't reverse it, while you're going out, someone might be behind your car. And we know in Oman, we know all of us, we know that there are many accidents of children die because of their parents, run over them while reversing. So normally, we encourage people to reverse parking when they get to their park. Okay, so that is your car. Now,
and make sure physically that they're not there. Don't depend on the cameras or the sensors.
Exactly.
Because many times the sensors in your cars, they don't work or they're switched off.
And again, your sensors won't work if he's in the side of the car. It's only if he's in front of the rear.
Switch off the radio and open the window.
Exactly.
While you do that, because rather than listening to very loud, whether Quran or whatever on the radio, you need to listen if there is something happening outside while you reverse.
Exactly. Yeah. And we also have this habit of checking the vehicle before we're leaving our park. We know most of us in our professional jobs and companies, they tell you to go around the vehicle to check whether there is a flat tire or there is a problem or anything. Why don't you do that at home? For the sake of your children, especially if you know that you have a children between 1 year to 4 years where they like to play everywhere.
Or the least, just peek beneath it rather than going around it. Just peek beneath it, and you'll have probably a sufficient view if there is anything beneath it, beneath the car. Yeah. If people are still lazy to go around the car, at least peek beneath it.
Yeah.
If you peek beneath it, you'll find a few Omani cats.
That's most of the time, yes. So now we are here. We've just parked our car. When we go out of our car and then going to the first thing you get to the sitting room. Yeah.
And I just want to add one more thing. Where do we put the car park? Because sometimes there is a driveway. From the gate to the car park, there is a long driveway. To me, I don't think that is safe, and there is any reason. People would like to park immediately, very close to their front doors, but that is adding an extra hazard. To me, I think it's better to put the car park immediately after the gate. You just go in, stop immediately.
Absolutely.
Because even if you don't reverse parking, then you reverse out of your house and not inside your compound.
Dr. Wael, you are, absolutely right. We are lazy. Yeah? Most of us are lazy. Look at us when we go to the offices. Where do we park normally? Everybody wants to park just one step. And you find somebody goes to the shopping also. He will go about 15 minutes going round and round. Well, they are parking somewhere just about 10 meters away, but he wants just to park very close to the shop. So we are lazy. And yes, you're right. We need to put our parks just after the boundary wall. That's the safest area. If you're going to cross the place, you might go out reversing and you're going to kill someone. Exactly. And again, there are people living in the buildings, not only villas. So check off your lifts. You don't allow your children to play with the lifts. Many accidents happens with the lifts and the staircases also. We have many injuries amongst children falling from height. Most of the children at houses do get injuries from fall, whether it's a trip with the cables and everywhere they've been thrown around, small toys, balcony, staircases.
Wet floors.
Exactly, wet floors. So absolutely, we need to you need to make those safe for our children. When you get to the sitting room, you find these sofas and everything. Nowadays we say, yes, the carpets, most people don't use carpets. And exactly as Dr. Weil said, the carpets, sometimes they're dangerous when somebody have some problem with the
Asthmatic.
Yeah. But again, the ceramic, they make it even worse. Even your couch, if a child was to, about 1 year old was to climb in your couch and fell down into that ceramic on his head.
Ceramic or marbles.
Or marbles, absolutely. He's going to get a good injury. Yeah. So we need to think of that. Again, trees which we put around the houses. They are nice trees. But also we need to know about those trees. Are they poisonous or not? Many children do even choke themselves with the leaves of those trees. So we need to be careful with the trees we put around. We don't say people don't put trees, but select the right trees that are safer.
Or at least if you have smaller pots, put them in a high place.
Yeah, but again, many people will put smaller pots in high place with the clothing that is going down the table. So the child, what happened when he sees the clothes, trying to pull the clothes and the pot is going to go into his head. Yeah, and we do have a lot of, not only pots by the way, even TVs sometimes. If you put anything above ground level, on the table, on the cabinet, please don't put anything beneath it, like a cloth, that a child can pull it, and that thing is going to go into his head. Yeah. We have many accidents like this.
Thank God now we have the LEDs
of course, so much better.
We solved that problem.
Yeah, absolutely, that's better. Again, you have in the sitting room sometimes you have a bookshelf. We know that many of these bookshelves do come with a restraint methodology or bolts or something to strain them to the wall. Again, we are lazy enough not to do that. So we put heavy books and everything in that shelf, and they fall into children. We know many accidents again happen because of that. Now, if you have to do that, first of all, please screw it into the wall, or at least put heavy things below, so that it becomes like a
stable.
Yeah, stable. Then putting heavy books in the top, and then the lighter ones down.
Musallam, in the living room you have most of the time the problem with the wiring of the TV or the receiver, and you normally use the long extension for the plugs, and they are always exposed. They're not put properly. You don't have a cabinet to put it in. What's the best solution?
The best thing is to manage those cables. First of all, try your best to make that the cables are completely concealed. You shouldn't see them, so that the children also don't see them. If it's must, then put some, trenching or something. But don't leave cables.
You can even buy these plastic wires that you can collect all the cables and just tie them together.
Exactly. Yeah. You can do that. But the best, because those are soft again. Yeah. If a child playing with the scissors, with the knife, he can cut through them. Yeah. But the best thing is to put the trunching. Yeah. It's harder and very difficult, and it goes nicely in your wall without seeing them.
I saw a few of the modern houses, and they have the built-in tubes in the wall where you don't see the wires at all.
That is the best way. As I said, if you don't see it, it is safer. Yes. If it is outside, anything can happen. Yeah, we sometimes don't supervise our children. Nowadays we don't blame the parents. Both wife and husband, a mother and father goes to work because of the current lifestyle, and we leave the children with the poor housemaid. Now we have to sympathize with those housemaid. Yeah. They have to cook, they have to clean, they have to iron the dresses, they have to look after the children, they have to, you name it. How can you expect 100% supervisions of those toddlers? Yes. It's very difficult, and they can play with the knives, with things that can cut through those cables while they are alive and put into the socket. So please take out those cables. Don't let them be seen. Hide them completely. And again, the sockets of electricity. If we are going to talk about the electricity safety, it's a huge subject itself. Yeah. But simple thing is that please cover those sockets you don't use.
There is special plugs.
Exactly. They have been sold in any baby shops. You can see them for the safe. Yeah.
You have the full cover, and you have the cover that covers the top pin, because the majority of our appliances are 2-pin.
Yes.
And the old way, which is using keys or pens to put them, to put these plugs, or otherwise the safest way is to use one of those covers that would cover the top part and just expose the lower part.
Oh, that is even more hazardous, doctor. Because what you do by doing that is that you don't need anything to go on the top to insert anything into their holes.
So how
which
do we,
makes it concerted.
How do we deal with? I mean, we have 2-pin equipment with 2-pin cables. How do we deal with that?
First of all, we don't encourage the 2-pin because they're always loose. You know what I do at my own home, when something comes in with a 2-pin, I cut it off and put a 3-pin instead, because 3-pin will always have more grip onto the plug,
and
it won't be loose,
and will be earthy as well.
If it comes with the earthing, yes. But again, we discourage the ones that expose the 2 holes below, because the main reason they put that top one for you to press and put the 2 pins, if you have 2 pins, is only that, to make it difficult for you. And also it becomes difficult for children. Now, if you're going to cover the top one, it means now it's easier. And by the way, I know a child who was about 4 years old died because of that.
Wow.
Yeah. Of course, not that exactly, but again, he bought these cheap adapters, which exactly does that. You don't need to press anything. You can insert anything after you put that adapter without pressing any other third place.
Yeah.
And his mother or his sister was in the kitchen. Mother was not there. He took a pin. You know the pins that most of women put in their hairs?
We need to
stop
talk
the
about
hairs.
that as well.
He took that pin and put it, and it went through that plug, and he got electrical shock and died. Yeah. So it's not a joke. Electricity is killer number one. So at home, all your appliances, you need to know, first of all, those appliances, they are safe, they are maintained correctly, they're stored correctly and used correctly.
Yeah. We're still in the living room, Musallam, and kids having meals in the living room while watching TV, and the plugs are exposed. So they might drink something, they might spill something on the plug, which will create an electrical shock as well. So do we encourage our children to eat in the living room, or they should eat in proper place like kitchens?
Exactly. We discourage that. We need to teach our children to do everything at its appropriate place. If they want to study, they go to the study room, or they go to the book, whatever office. If they want to eat, they eat in the dining room. If they want to sleep, they sleep in their bedroom. Yeah. Some might argue, say, listen, Musallam, you're talking about someone who's rich, who have hundreds of rooms or everything. I said, fine, but you have to also supervise them. If you don't have in your house, apart from two rooms to do everything, then you need to make it safer. As we said before, those plugs should not be exposed to those children. They should be away. We shouldn't have any water, juices, or anything close to any electrical supplies, because they can.
I'm very, very much concerned about a hazard in the living room, which is the droppings of rats or insects or anything which are poisonous. When you have toddlers at home and they crawl all over the place, and then they put their fingers in their mouth, and they can be poisoned by this. How can we protect our children?
Protecting them by removing. We always say the best way to deal with any risks or hazards is completely eliminating them. Take them out completely. Don't try to control them or put barrier between you and them. So the best thing is to eliminate them. If you have any problem with the pesticides, please, if you can't control them by yourself, call those guys and professional.
Pest control.
Pest control. Perhaps it will cost you to go out of your house for one day or something, but it's worth it.
Yes.
Yeah, it's worth it because of your children, because of your health. Yeah, because we know, yes, these mice and rats and cockroaches, they do spread poisons and spread sicknesses around the house.
Okay, we'll take a short break, and then we'll continue the discussion after the break, inshallah.
Thank you.
The Modern Family.
And when this is taking place, the mother who's got a child, she on that day won't remember that she had a child. Why? Because the sound of the horn. The sound of the horn is so terrifying that you will see mankind will be in a drunken state, but in reality they won't be drunk. The hadith of Abu Huraira comes to mind. He said that Shaitan and his army will begin to run, and they will begin to hide. They will begin to run and they will begin to hide. The Quran says on that day there is no refuge. He will look above the people And what will they see? They will see the sky will look like the black filth of oil. It will crack piece by piece. The earth beneath them, it will crack piece by piece. The oceans will be on fire on that day, and they will explode from their places. Allahu Akbar, picture this in your mind. That the oceans, they will be on fire and they will explode from their places. The stars will lose their shine and they will come crashing down. And there will be darkness everywhere. And when there is darkness everywhere, nothing will remain. Every single thing in the universe will come to an end. The hadith of Abu Hurairah says, that the angel of death, it will say to Allah, "Oh Allah, all those are in the heaven and all those are in the dunya, they have come to an end, except for those who you wish to remain alive, O Allah." Allah will say, "Who remains?" And the angel will say, "Oh Allah, Jibreel remains, Mikael remains, Israfil remains, and the angels who are carrying your throne, they remain." Allah the Almighty will say, "Let death come to Jibreel, let death come to Mikael, let death come to Israfil, and let death come to all those angels who are carrying my throne." Then Allah will say, "Who remains?" Ya Allah knows who remains. Allah will say to the angel of death, "Who remains?" And the angel will say, "Oh Allah, I remain, you remain, no one else remains." Yet then Allah will say, "I created you for a purpose. You have fulfilled your purpose. You also die and you will die." And then Allah the Almighty, He will roll up all the heavens in His hands. He will roll up all the worlds in His hands. And Allah will raise His voice and Allah will say, "I am the Almighty Allah. I am the Almighty Allah. For whom is the divine rule today? For whom is the power today? For whom is the kingdom today? I am the King of all kings. Where are your dictators? Where are your oppressors?" No one will answer. Allah Himself will answer. And Allah will say, "Power is for Allah. Might is for Allah. The one, the only, the irresistible."
The Modern Family. The Modern Family.
Dear brothers and sisters, dear listeners, welcome back to the Modern Family, and it's a hot topic. It's safety at home with Musallam Al-Khaifi. Before we start, we would like to congratulate our producer here today, Ayyub Abu Fahad, Ayyub Al-Busaidi, who became a father for the first time today. So congratulations, Ayyub. Mubarak alayk. So, we have on the line with us Dr. Hilal bin Muhammad Al-Barwani, who's a specialist in pediatric emergency at Sultan Qaboos University Hospital. Assalamu alaikum, Doctor.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. How are you, Dr. Wael?
Alhamdulillah, we're all fine and doing very well. Congratulations for the month of Ramadan. May Allah accept all our good deeds and prayers.
Ameen, and from all Muslims, inshallah.
Ameen. Dr. Hilal, thank you very much for taking the time to be with us today. I know you have a very busy schedule. Dr. Hilal, our topic today is about safety at home. We would like to know what is happening in hospitals. What do you see on a daily basis in hospitals in terms of injury? What are the types of injuries that you see, and what sort of statistics do you have on the injuries specifically with children?
Okay, inshallah. So first of all, assalamu alaikum to all your guests there. And second, I would like to thank you and all the others who are involved in producing this show. It's a great show, very relevant topics and hot topics. And I think all of you did very well by introducing experts in those topics to discuss, to create a very rich discussion. So thank you very much for your all effort. And I hope that we continue seeing this program around the year.
Inshallah, hopefully. Shukran, Doctor.
Inshallah. So, if you classify injuries in pediatrics or in children, So we have accidental injuries and we have non-accidental injuries or inflicted injuries, which are not, I think, the topic today. So we'll concentrate on accidental injuries. And in pediatrics, again, we have injuries classified according to age. The same even with diseases. Different age group, they have specific injuries. So, for example, a baby who is just newborn might have injuries in the house different than a toddler, different than an adolescent. It depends on their milestones. And as Mr. Hatim started and he asked a question: Is our houses our houses are safe places for our children or not? So I think I'll take that as a good start. For example, for a newborn, a crib or a bed, his bed could be a dangerous place if we don't equip it properly. For example, pillows, lots of stuffy items, bumpers on the side of the bed could be a dangerous thing for the babies and can lead to suffocation.
And cot death.
So that's one thing. And then at the same age group, for infants, for example, because they are helpless, they can get injuries different than adults. For example, falling from a changing table. So the mother will put the child to change him, and for a second she'll go and grab something, and at that stage maybe the baby is able to turn over or roll over. Then he might fall from a changing table, which might be a meter height, and that could cause considerable injuries in those very fragile babies. Or falling from the parent's bed, if they are not strict in putting the baby in his own bed. They say, it's a matter of just half an hour. I'm cleaning somewhere, and the mother kept the baby in their bed, and because there are no boundaries there, then these baby can fall when they are able to turn over.
It could be a matter of seconds, actually. Some parents do leave their children on the sofas and go for a cup of tea. Or do anything for a few seconds, and all they hear is the cries of the infant.
Exactly. So I think awareness is very important in such occasions or situations. And then when the children are starting to walk, for example, they're very curious. They would like to explore the house, explore items. They like to climb over furniture. So they climb over the sofa, then the table, and then they can fall from the tables. They like to explore things, and their way of exploring is putting things into their eyes and into their mouth. So whatever they find, they put it in the mouth as a way of exploring what is this. So here, as Sheikh Musallam mentioned about medicine, if you don't put medicine in the proper places, a proper safe storage, then they can ingest medicine, they can ingest cleaning items, if they're not stored in a proper place again, and can cause very considerable injuries.
How severe are the cases that you receive at the Sultan Qaboos University Hospital?
So it depends on what is the ingested item. So medication could be, and even medication, some of them just one pill can lead to death. And sometimes they are safer pills. So we don't expect any harm from them. So it's basically, it depends on the ingested material and the quantity. So medication could be very dangerous, and especially sometimes even the parents doesn't know that it's happened, or they discover that after a few hours when they see the bottle is open and some pills are on the floor. So even the time is of importance. The earlier they come to the emergency, the better the outcome. So the time, the quantity, the material itself.
What about the physical? What about the physical injuries? What type of physical injuries, and what are the main reasons at home? It's just because Dr. Hilal, we would love to have you on the show. It's just we are very tight on time. So if we'd like to focus on physical injuries, what are the main causes, and how severe are they?
Okay, great. Come quickly to the ingestion. The detergent is very dangerous, so all parents should store them very well, because they can lead to months of suffering for the baby, the parents, and lots of surgeries. So that's one thing not to forget about. For the physical injuries, again, the age groups. So falls are one of them, falls from height. Other thing is when the children are, again, exploring. So if they can reach into knives, for example, in the kitchen, that can be very dangerous. And tools sometimes they keep tools unsupervised in areas. So if they have these tools, they have saws and other things, could be very dangerous. The kitchen is a dangerous place. So the cookers, for example, they can sustain very bad burns. Cookers and hot materials should be kept very well.
Yeah.
Other thing is, so I get a list for myself here.
Yeah. Dr. Hilal, there is one type of injury that I have. It really touched me, and it really concerned me quite a lot. And I would like to know if you had experienced anything in the hospitals of this type of injury. You know that majority of villas nowadays, and even flats, the entrance is a sliding door, a sliding gate. And these gates could weigh anything from 500 kilograms to 1 ton. And I personally have heard about a lot of cases where these are not well fitted and they collapse onto children. And in fact, there were some deaths. Could you shed some light, please, on this particular type of injuries and what you have seen in SQU hospital?
Oh, I'm very happy that you brought this up, because it's really, I encountered very sad stories. First one is in around 2006, where there was a door which was not fitted actually. It was on the side.
Yeah.
The kids were playing around it, and I think one of them pushed the door, and there was unfortunately a child on the other side. It fell on him, and they brought the child to the hospital. It was a matter of about 15 minutes, they say, and the child arrived dead
Subhanallah.
to the hospital. So that was a very bad case that I was involved in.
Yeah.
And about the significance of this, few months ago we had 3 cases in 3 weeks. So almost 1 case a week.
1 case a week?
Exactly, yes. So about 1 case a week of such cases where a sliding door fell on a child. And because they're very, as I said, fragile, they're very young.
Yeah.
They sustained bad injuries, requiring some of them mechanical ventilation, required few days of intensive care unit admission, and then after that, some of them required surgeries and casting for the fractures, extremity fractures.
Yeah.
So this is in only our emergency, and that was in 1 month, and it happens throughout the year. So I don't know how many cases we have all over Oman. So I think it's very important, and thankfully I heard some people already brought it up. We brought it up to our emergency administration to take an action on it. And I think we should spread awareness for all the people to know that's very dangerous. They have to see what specification in the door. Is it possible
Hilal,
for them to fall or not? Yeah.
Dr. Hilal, thank you very much for your contribution today. And inshallah, we'll call you whenever we need any advice on statistics and cases, probably tomorrow, because tomorrow's show would also be on safety and road safety. So inshallah we'll speak to you tomorrow if time allows, inshallah, your time allows. Shukran.
Thank you very much for your call, and it's a pleasure.
Okay, assalamu alaikum.
Alaikum.
So Sheikh Musallam, very shocking, huh? Yeah. So they are not just very superficial injuries. We are talking about death, and there are a lot of incidents. As a matter of fact, several months ago, after the case in Al-Amirat, where a brother and a sister were under one of these gates, unfortunately the parents only realized saw one of them. They took him to the hospital and they didn't see their other child. By the time they came back, the child was dead. I rang the Ministry of Commerce and the Directorate of Standards. And I asked the Director General, do you have any standards for sliding gates? And the answer was no. We have standards. The municipality has standards for the type of color you paint your house. And if you don't paint it white or the color they like, then you will never be able to move into your house and you will be penalized. But things that cause death, they are not regulated, nor are there any standards. So we really need to move and towards better homes and better standards.
Absolutely.
I think we have a call. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
How are you, brother?
Alhamdulillah. This is Hamid Na'mani speaking.
Hamid, how are you?
MashaAllah.
Fine, alhamdulillah. I would like to participate in this program today, which is really very interesting topic about this domestic incident.
Yes, Hamid, tell us.
In the houses, yeah.
Tell us.
I've got
Hamid,
a question and a case that I would like to share in this program.
Okay. Go ahead, Hamid, as we have only 30 seconds.
Inshallah. Assalamu alaikum, brothers, salam, and rest of the.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
I would one question. I don't know how we can encourage and address the message of kitchen about the kids, because there are many cases happening in the kitchens.
Yeah.
And the kitchen is not a place or safe place for the kids to be in there, especially when the mother or the wives are busy with preparing, cooking and other stuff.
That's the next point.
And many cases we heard about, kind of hot oil spill on the ground, and kids get injured or get burned. Many cases there. So how we can address this message to all families, especially not in Muscat, outside the Muscat.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
One question. The other case, it happened of one of our relatives, not in Muscat, outside Muscat, in Syria. This is due to the poor supervision. Imagine the girl, she's around of 4 years, okay, and she was in the near to the washing place, and she just play around with the Clorox. You know the Clorox?
Yes.
Clorox, yes, she was playing around and get few drops to her eyes, and she lost her one eye. Just imagine, because of poor supervision, and there's no a safe place to avoid this kind of things happen.
Thank you.
Thank you very much,
Thank you,
Hamid.
Hamid.
I think Hamid touched a very important subject here. We know we've been in the sitting room. We haven't gone further to the bedroom. We haven't gone to the kitchen, which is one of the most hazardous areas in the house, really. We are going step by step. But since Hamid brought it up, yes, the kitchen is one of the most hazardous area in the entire house. There are many things in the kitchen. There are things we know, there are things we don't know sometimes. We store them into the stores of the kitchen. You have fire hazards in the kitchens. You have a lot of chemicals in the kitchen. You have hot oils. You have tools and things there. You have electrical appliances in the kitchen. You have water and hot water sometimes.
Sharp objects.
Sharp objects, yes, like knives and other things. So, kitchen is one of the most risky area in any of our houses. And we do have, like the doctor spoke about it, and also Hamid now is saying, is about burnings from children. I was just 2 days ago having iftar in one area, and I got a call of one of my relative. Child was trying to cook something and dropped hot oil in his younger child on his face, close to his eyes. So, I do know about this. Accident happens, and as correctly Hamid says about supervision. But we said from the beginning of this talk that we can't blame the housemaids, because they have a lot to do.
Yeah.
And the lifestyle now, as we said, is that many people are going outside the house. And therefore, we really need, if we cannot supervise the children, we need to make our houses safe, at least, because we know we won't be there watching them every time. And then again, the washing room. There are people children who went into the washing machines themselves. There are children who drank those, as he said, the Clorox and detergents, and consequently died. So, as we said from the beginning, it is about for everybody to go into the house and ask himself, what if? Everything in front of your eyes, ask yourself, what if I was not there and my child was here?
What can go wrong?
And I leave him alone, yes, freedom to do anything. What can he do that might harm him? That's the best question we need to ask.
Salam, regarding the oil, cooking with hot oil, I think now you have modern pots which are sealed. Mm-hmm. You just add the oil and you add the chicken or meat, whatever, and you cover it, and then it cooks. And then an alarm will go off once it is ready. So it's not exposed. This is, I think, much safer than cooking traditionally with an open pan.
Sometimes the technology do help, but sometimes even the technology, you introduce something to solve a problem, and then you get another problem. And again, those things which they're electrically driven, they sometimes, because you don't need them high like a cooker, they put them in lower type, and when they finish, or the children go and open it, and the oil is already hot, and they got burned. So
somehow children are attracted to kitchens. They find that the kitchen is the best place to play.
And it's not only that, it's because, again, we go back to the same problem, is that most of the families now are outside of the house. The housemaid is the only one do everything. And therefore, she cannot cook while watching a child who's in the sitting room.
Yes.
So what should she do? She takes the
She
child
brings them
to
to the kitchen.
I would like to share some habits, good habits, while in the kitchen to make it a safer place. If you are going to use, you have mainly 4 to 5 hobs or rings on a cooker. If you're only going to use 1 or 2, use the one at the back rather than the ones at the front, and make it more difficult for the child to reach. And even with that, if we use the back or the front, always keep the handles, the pots of the handles, at the back, away from where the child can be. If there are any stools, remove the stools.
The old clump chairs, stools, anything.
Remove the stools. Do not hold a hot drink while you are, or a hot pot, whatever, while you are holding the child.
Yes.
Avoid using microwave to heat milk, because especially with milk, you could have a spot in the milk which is warm and some which is cold. And the spot which is hot could be extremely hot and could burn the child immediately.
Most of the experts don't recommend heating any liquid with the microwave anyway. So it's best conventional heating. So
yes, because it could superheat.
And you don't know it. And I think you can see from the clips in the internet and these that you heat the water to the extent that you don't see it. You put the thing and then it float out. So yeah, I absolutely agree with you.
Musallam, as we're running out of time, we're moving out of the kitchen, heading towards the bedrooms upstairs. We're going through the staircase. What can you say about the staircase?
The staircase, again, is one of that counts for almost 40% of all injuries in the house. The staircase, because, again, the toddlers, those who crawl, they would like to go and make some adventure and discover things upstairs. They want to know why all my family are going up except me.
Yes.
So they would definitely want to go to see what is there. And that's the time where the children, and the toddlers fall down and injure their. Sometimes they get broken bones. Sometimes they even die with the falls. So you have those grattings and the barriers that hold the side of the staircases.
Both ends of the
exactly.
Of
if
the
it is not on the wall at one side,
but
most of the houses, one side it will be attached to the wall. The other side you will have those handles banisters. So you need to make sure that they are narrow enough that your child won't put his head and go through them. Okay. Many people would like to have a nice design that shows a big spread between the two columns or something, and then the children fall from them or through them. And again, if you are having a house that you have bedrooms in the top and living room downstairs, you need to put the barriers in the beginning of the staircases also in the top if you are sitting there with your children, because most of people do sometimes close the staircase from the below, but when they go up they forget that the children would like to descend, also go down. So you need to protect it both ends, unless if the top area you don't go except for something else, there's no rooms or something.
And sometimes people buy very cheap these barriers or gate, and then when the kid just pushes it, it falls off.
Hatim, always we said from the beginning, the conflict is between security and beauty and money. Sometimes we do buy cheap things to save some money, but it ends up to do nothing for us. We better not even buying it. So we always have to value life. How much do you value the life of our children? And we're going to talk about this tomorrow in the road safety with the child seats. Many of us don't really want to spend money, investing money into doing safer things, but it ends up after us, we pay 100 times more just to cure the injuries that we've been, on our child.
We had this argument at the beginning because of the staircase, whether you should have marbles or you should have carpet. It's a controversial issue.
Yes,
Maybe we will not agree, but I think having a carpet is more safer than having marbles or ceramic on the tiles. But let us move on to
he wants to have the last say.
Let us move to the bedrooms.
Okay. Now the bedrooms again, your beds, and as the doctor mentioned, many toddlers also fell from the beds, suffocating from these loose things like pillows or something. The toddlers should have the mattresses that is hard enough not to suffocate them. Sometimes you'll find the safe mattresses for the toddlers, but the mothers decide to make it more comfort by putting some cushions and these, which can suffocate the child if he is to sleep on his face.
Can we emphasize, Musallam, on these safe mattresses? Because one of the causes of death is cot death, where the child or the infant is sleeping on their tummy and their nose is on the mattress. The safe mattresses are the ones which have holes in them.
Yes, they are holes.
So there is enough ventilation. Even if the child's face is facing down, they can still breathe.
Even if the child vomits or do something, again, those do help. So there are some safe mattresses for the children. And we should not try to beautify them, because this is again the problem. Is that mother wants, there's a lot of visitors, you will see the mattresses it looks ugly, so let me just put some beautiful pinkish things and pillows to make it beautiful. But again, as I said, it's a conflict between safety and, again, when we look at the windows, sometimes, especially us in this part of the world, we don't think of evacuation most of the time. If something goes wrong in the house, if fire goes on, we always have one door to get in and out. Now we have options. We have options of windows, but again, for the security sake, we put some metal barriers around those windows.
So and we can't go out.
Yeah, we prison ourselves inside our houses. So that means we have only one way out. Something goes wrong, we can't go out. So to me, I personally prefer the security cameras and security sensors better than those metal barriers, because I feel more safe. I can evacuate through the window if something goes wrong. And of course, that if it's a villa. I'm not talking somebody evacuating from the multi-story building, from the window. Don't get me wrong.
For villas, I have a colleague who is a safety guy, and what he did, he always taught his children that the evacuation is from the rooftop, and he built a metal staircase that takes it from the rooftop to outside. That's the way that you can evacuate easily from the rooftop.
That's another solution.
I mean, time is running out, and we haven't covered everything. But I think what we need to do is that what we have done is raised awareness, at least slightly. And we would like to continue to do that even after the show. So we will post some websites which gives guidance to parents on how to properly observe safety in every single room in your house, and we'll post it on Twitter at Hatim IIC. So dear listeners, please follow us on Twitter, Hatim, HATIM IIC, and we will post, inshallah, several links to websites which can help you and advise you on safety.
Yes, one last word before we finish. Since the beginning of this, we were talking about prevention. We were talking about how to prevent incidents and accidents at home. What we have not touched upon is the protection or after the accidents. We argue all the parents to read or do something about first aid. Please read about first aid, so that at least you know what to do immediately when an accident happens. And also do put those first aid boxes. They will cost you about 5 riyals, but they are very handy when something happens.
Lifesavers.
Absolutely. Fire blankets at your kitchen, fire extinguishers. Please do consider, if something goes wrong, what you're going to do. Okay, so don't wait until it happens and then you learn from it.
Maybe what we should do is in tomorrow's session about road safety at the beginning, in maybe 5 minutes, we can go quickly about some tips that we have not been able to.
The protection tips.
I think we should continue on this topic tomorrow. At least for a few minutes, and then we go to road safety. One thing you have mentioned, I am really proud that you said parents need and must learn about first aid, because one thing here in Oman, that probably the majority of people listening might be shocked, but we do not have dedicated ambulance services or emergency services in Oman for any type of injuries at home. All ambulances are only for road accidents. So if you have an accident at home and you think that you need a professional to come and collect your child, do not wait. Unfortunately, you'll either have to take your child yourself, which is in itself risky, but you will fall into a much bigger risk not taking them anywhere. So please do not rely on the emergency services. Just go immediately to the hospitals.
And know which hospital to go, because sometimes you'll go to the smaller clinics and they won't be here. So you need to choose. Thank you.
Musallam bin Rashid Al-Khaifi, thank you very much for today's session, and inshallah we'll continue this discussion tomorrow. Thank you very much, dear listeners. I'm your host Hatim Al-Absalam. and
Wa'il Harrasi.
Assalamu alaikum. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Assalamu alaikum.
The modern family. Let us bridge the gap between generations. Let us shape up the modern family. The modern family. The modern family. Join the discussion and give us your feedback. Live with Hatim Al-Abdussalam and Dr. Wa'il Al-Harrasi. The modern family.
I just wanted to be there.